Okay, let's jump right into this. Today, we're unpacking a really mind-bending story set in the year 2147. It's an explainer that brilliantly tackles the absolute extremes of surveillance capitalism through what is, honestly, the ultimate invasion of privacy. We're going to dive into a complex, time-twisting narrative that poses some incredibly profound questions about determinism, data privacy, and who actually owns our subconscious. So, let's get into it.
So the whole thing kicks off with this massive, terrifying question. What if your worst nightmares literally cost you money? Imagine living in a dystopian world where a government body known as the Oneiric Authority totally rules the soft hours of the night. And they don't just police the streets, right? They directly tax your dreams. Just think about that for a second. I mean, we stress over our browsing history today, but imagine waking up in a cold sweat and knowing you're about to get a bill for it.
And the way they pull this off is through something called a neural lace. These are super delicate filaments woven right behind the ear. But the kicker here is that it's absolutely mandatory. Everyone gets implanted at age 12. This tech records your dreams in high-fidelity streams and then automatically uploads that data to authority servers every single morning at dawn. Just like that, your most private, unguarded thoughts are suddenly government property.
Now, the authority's whole system is built on this incredibly cold, ruthless financial logic. Having a peaceful, dreamless sleep? Well, that's affordable. But having a really vivid emotional dream, or worse, a nightmare, that comes with massive punitive surcharges. Basically, the more intense the dream, the more astronomical the tax.
And if you're wondering why they'd even do this, the rationale is chillingly simple. Nightmares bred instability. Instability bred dissent. By hitting citizens in the wallet for their own mental disorder, the authority ensures complete societal compliance using pure financial fear. It's an incredibly effective, if, completely horrifying, method of control. If you literally can't afford to dream, you quickly learn to suppress your own humanity. Section 1. The Anomaly. Enter the Dream Thief.
Down in the underbelly of this massive vertical city called New Elysium, we meet our protagonist, Kai Voss. Now at 19, Kai did the unthinkable. He used a black market filament cutter and some synthetic morphine, and he literally ripped his neural lace right out of his head. For 8 years since, he's been living as a total ghost, unrecorded, untaxed, completely off the grid. To survive, he works as a dream thief. He uses this rigged extractor, which looks like a normal sleep aid patch, to siphon dreams right out of people's heads. His clients are usually burned-out executives wanting an adrenaline rush, or maybe artists looking for inspiration. But then, everything shifts on what's supposed to be a totally routine job. Kai extracts this absolutely terrifying, hyper-realistic nightmare of a burning skyscraper from a regular mid-tier salaryman named Harlan. When Kai gets back to his hideout and actually jacks into this stolen dream, he doesn't just see the fire and falling glass. Woven right into the vision is this horrifying, unmistakable piece of metadata, 22 October 2047. Tomorrow, the realization hits him. This isn't just a bad dream, it's a precognitive vision. He's literally watching the future. And guys, that one dream is just the beginning of the nightmare. Kai starts experiencing a whole chain of escalating disasters. First, the Meridian Tower burns down, killing 312 people, exactly how it played out in the dream. Then comes a maglev train derailment. After that, a massive water purification collapse. Every single time he extracts a dream, spots that glowing future date stamped in the metadata, and then watches helplessly as the events unfold with absolutely merciless precision. But Kai isn't the type to just sit back. He starts piecing these fragments together like a giant, terrifying puzzle, mapping out these upcoming disasters. He begins secretly leaking coordinates, hacking maintenance drones to force evacuations, essentially saving lives from the shadows. The problem? This creates a massive statistical anomaly. The authorities' algorithms notice a bizarre spike in predictive accuracy happening exactly in the sectors where their dream tax revenue is dropping. They realize some sort of ghost is out there playing hero, and they immediately triple the bounties on all dream thieves.
Section 2. The Paradox Reveal. Stealing his own death.
Eventually, Kai is lured to this abandoned structure called the Sky Spire by an old recluse offering triple his usual rate. Kai presses his extractor to the old man's temple, and instantly his whole world inverts. He's suddenly standing on a rain-swept rooftop. He looks down at his hands and sees a very specific scar across the knuckles. He hears his own voice speaking final words into a comms unit, and then a fatal gunshot right through the back of the skull. As he falls in the dream, this stark, undeniable metadata timestamp burns behind his eyes. He realizes, with absolute horror, that he has just extracted a perfect, precognitive recording of his own murder.
Kai violently rips the extractor away, gasping for air. The old recluse just opens his eyes and smiles, revealing this very familiar crooked incisor. And that's when the terrifying realization drops for Kai, and for us. This 73-year-old recluse, it's him. The young thief and the old man are the exact same person.
So, we really have to ask ourselves here, how is that even possible? How can a man steal a memory of his own future murder? We need to unpack how this completely impossible closed-loop timeline actually functions in this universe, because it's the absolute core of the story. Okay, the mechanics of this loop are just wild. Step 1, young Kai extracts the nightmare. Step 2, fast forward a few weeks and that future event actually happens. A version of Kai dies on that rooftop. Step 3, but here's the catch. Another version of Kai has to miraculously survive that encounter by the narrowest possible margin, live a whole other lifetime in hiding, grow to be 73 years old, and then, Step 4, he has to deliberately allow his younger self to find him, just so he can cast this recorded death dream backward through time.
There's actually a formal term for what's happening here. It's called a bootstrap paradox. It's this theoretical loop where an event causes another event, which then turns around and causes the first one. Young Kai only knows about the rooftop because old Kai showed him, but old Kai only lived to show him because he survived the rooftop in the first place. It is a textbook bootstrap paradox. But here, it's wearing a very tired, very human face.
Realizing he somehow has to prune this timeline to find an escape route, young Kai goes back to the Sky Spire with his crew to extract the rest of the nightmare and map out the branching possibilities. And as he dives deeper into his older self's mind, old Kai leaves him with his final static-laced piece of wisdom through the link. You always steal what you shouldn't. This time, steal wisely.
Section 3. The climax. Breaking the loop. Right as old Kai delivers that warning, all hell breaks loose. Authority drones breach the observation deck. In a split-second decision that really defines who he is, Kai drops his extractor. Instead, he grabs a fallen enemy soldier's neural disruptor, slams the barrel right against his own temple, and triggers it at absolute maximum power.
The blast completely fractures his consciousness. For one impossible, mind-bending moment, he literally holds both futures in his head at the same time. He vividly sees his inevitable violent death on that rooftop. But he also sees the long-hidden life of the old man he must become. Decades spent hiding in the shadows. All the specific disasters he's going to prevent. All the lives he'll ultimately save.
Seeing the massive, crushing price required to keep this loop going, Kai chooses the long road. With the disruptor still pressed to his skull, he takes that entire predictive chain, his own death, the old man's memories, every single future disaster, and he broadcasts the whole shebang across every public and underground network in New Elysium, blasting it straight into the public DreamTax servers. The fallout is absolutely massive. By releasing this raw, unfiltered, predictive data, Kai completely weaponizes the truth. Naturally, the Authority scrambles to spin it, labeling the whole thing a terrorist psyop. But the public reaction, it's like wildfire. It's completely unstoppable. Millions of citizens suddenly wake up to the reality of their own futures. There's an immediate, citywide demand to have their neural laces removed. The Authority's entire system of control just starts fracturing overnight.
But here's the thing about time loops. They still demand closure. Fast forward to June 14th, Kai is standing on that rain-slicked rooftop exactly as the prophecy foretold. He activates his recorder, speaks his final words, and the fatal shot is fired. But this is where the loop finally widens. Somewhere deep down in the underlevels of the city, a younger, newly awakened version of Kai, Voss, is receiving that massive broadcast of his own death and the future timeline. This younger Kai now has the knowledge and the power to actually make different choices.
Right before facing his end, Kai takes a moment to reflect on the absolute chaos he's unleashed and the collapse of the Authority. He just says, "Let them dream untaxed for once." That one powerful sentence perfectly captures his ultimate triumph over a system that literally tried to commodify the human subconscious. He gave up his own life so the rest of the city could finally remember how to dream freely. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really provocative thought. Yes, it's a sci-fi story, for sure. But look at the world we live in today. We are generating endless streams of metadata every single day. If your raw thoughts, your emotions, your literal dreams were treated purely as metadata, how much of your mind would truly belong to you?
It's a fascinating, kind of terrifying look at determinism and the true cost of our digital footprints. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning what's really in your data.